Viewers and subscribers, welcome back to Beating the Press podcast. I am your host, Rafa. Now, coming up in today's podcast, we're going to be reviewing the weekend that was Man City going down 4-0 to Spurs. And of course, Manchester United being held to a draw by Ipswich. Now, of course, joining me this evening to review these matches and to talk some EPL football in general, we have returning to the podcast, Christoph.
Good to be back, viewers.
Yes, indeed, Christoph. Nowhere else to start but over there at the Etihad. Man City, Christoph. Pep Guardiola. This is now 5 defeats on the trot. Talk to us about that game. Did you see this one coming, Christoph? Or did this one catch you by surprise, as it did me?
Um, Spurs winning, I thought was always in my mind. I gave Spurs the edge because coming into the game, really, Spurs had nothing to lose. I predicted a draw, and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
said
you call that one 2-2, I believe.
right. I predicted a draw, but my edge was to Spurs because Spurs, like I said, coming into the game, nothing to lose. Farm has been somewhat spotty. Um, But they're coming to the Etihad. Everybody's expecting them to lose and probably lose big. So it kind of allowed them to play more freely in this instance. But also I think it's really Guardiola's tactics that backfired on him in this game, and it led to Spurs getting those 4 goals
What?
on the counter attack.
Oh, what tactic do you speak of, though? I mean, to me, this is a big upset. I really did not see this one coming. So talk to us about the tactic you are referencing.
So all right. So if you go think back to the game and think about how Man City played, Man City played their wingers instead of playing them out wide. They played them inside of the Spurs fullbacks, and they were much closer to extra attacking midfielders versus being wingers. As such, and as I've been saying for the last 2 seasons, Manchester City's weakness is on the wings, and by moving your wingers inside, you create more space on the wing for Spurs to attack, and that is what happened. Almost every goal for Spurs came from counter attacking down those wings.
Yeah, indeed. Kulusevski definitely had himself a game. And of course, Madison popping up on the end of those assists, bagging too. But for sure, Christoph, to me, I thought City would have bounced back, being in front of their home fans, having lost four on the bounce. I really did not see a fifth coming, and it could possibly be six versus a rampant Liverpool team come Sunday. But of course, Man City do face Feyenoord in the Champions League before we get to that encounter versus Liverpool. But definitely, I think Pep is going through one of his more disappointing spells. In fact, this may very well be the longest unbeaten spell in Pep's career. Can he bounce back though, Christoph? That is the question. Or will Man City continue to implode?
Uh, Difficult to say. You would lean towards Man City bouncing back, and you'd probably expect them to bounce back midweek against Feyenoord. Um, Against Liverpool, hard to say what will happen. It is a big opportunity for Liverpool to take a bigger step in the title race, and at the
Indeed.
moment,
I
I
mean,
think I think it's
if
the best
Liverpool
chance
was
for
to
them to
win that game,
capitalize.
I mean, I think it's game set match. 11-point lead at the top of the table there over Man City. I think it would be a case of game set match. So Liverpool, as you mentioned, has a glorious opportunity. This is a wounded animal, Christoph, in the form of Man City. Their major players are out with injuries, are not firing on all cylinders. Rodri still out, and of course we saw Kovacic seem to have picked up an injury as well. Hence, he was not in this game versus Spurs. And of
Well,
course, Kevin De Bruyne is just coming back
Rodri,
around.
Ra Rodri will be out all season, so we won't be
Yeah,
seeing
for
Rodri
sure.
back for the
That we
season.
know. That we definitely know. So this is, I mean, confidence in the Man City cap should be low. So this is a perfect opportunity for Liverpool to get a win. And to me, Christoph, if Liverpool was to get a win, they would all but seal the EPL title. What says you? Would it be Arsenal who would be closest to chasing them down?
Um, they would open up an 11-point lead by defeating Manchester
Man
City,
City,
but
right?
saying
But
that
Arsenal may win. So it
saying
would
that
still be it.
saying the title would is sealed at this early stage, would be counting your chickens before they hatch, because
I
it's
believe
still.
if they get a 11-point lead over City in particular, I think it is sealed, in my opinion.
I,
I
I,
could be wrong, as I was on the weekend. I called the Man City win, but it was Spurs who came away. But I mean, at this stage of the game, at this level of football, with Liverpool playing as they are and City looking as how they look, homing up a 11-point lead on City would all but write City's hopes off. The next best thing would be Arsenal, in my opinion. So to me,
um,
you're eliminating one of the contenders by if you were to get this win over City.
again, I don't think you are eliminating anybody yet. It's still early in the season here.
No,
It
man,
might,
11 points is
it,
it's insurmountable. Not even
okay,
by
you know,
City's lofty standards.
last season, Liverpool went into January top of the table with an 8 point lead.
No,
You
no,
know,
that was
in
no, it wasn't
in
it. I
March,
don't believe it was it.
it was a 8 point lead. In March, at the end of March, it was a 1 point lead, and then they proceeded to implode in 1 week. So
Was it? I
it,
saw a stats where it was Arsenal, I believe, not last season, but the season before, who had that 8-point lead, and City chased
Liverpool
them down.
Liverpool also had an 8 point lead in
We are
January.
going to have to check the statistics on that. I did not see that statistic. We are going to have to check that one. But for sure, to me, in my opinion, in my book, Man City in general is not playing well, and that is the more alarming thing.
Yeah,
They're failing to take their chances
yeah,
in terms of finishing.
Manchester City is currently not playing well, but there is still a lot of time for them to rectify that. That is the problem. It's not beating them on the weekend gives you a huge advantage, both psychologically
Insurmountable. If
and
Liverpool was to
mathematically,
win, City not winning the league. If
but there is still a lot of time left in this season.
Nah, man.
You know,
If Liverpool win on Sunday, Christoph, City is not coming back from an 11-point lead. City is out. In my opinion, it's now down to Arsenal or Liverpool. And in my opinion, I don't see Arsenal chasing down Liverpool, uh, chasing them down from 8 points, because it simply means over the course of the rest of the season, you have to make up that 8 point gap. Will Arsenal perform better than Liverpool over that period? I'm not so sure. I think they may perform similarly, or while Arsenal may outperform them, I don't think they'll outperform them by 8 points. So to me, this is the prime opportunity for Liverpool to grab a trophy so early in the season. Of course, as you said, there's lots of time and the ball is round, but in my book, I would definitely call it for Liverpool for sure. But time is the master. Time is the master, and a lot can change between, you know, over a few days. In all honesty, and while we may be here thinking the title may be wrapped up, if it's a big if, Liverpool gets a win. But for sure, in terms of minimum requirement, Liverpool should not lose that game. At worst, they come away with a draw and maintain that gap, but they should not lose to this City team, which is probably low in confidence, not playing well, probably dealing with some injuries. Of course, that can be used as an excuse because other teams have injuries to deal with as well. I mean, Liverpool themselves have had injuries throughout the course of the season. The likes of Ajata still out and others. And of course, we don't know what the future will hold. So that is another thing to factor in. Of course, Arsenal have been dealing with injuries also. So that's no excuse, but it's definitely interesting to see how Pep will cope with this sort of form and these sort of results going forward. Very interesting times ahead, but credit has to be given to Spurs, Christoph. As much as we're saying City lost, it must be down to the Spurs team. Credit has to be given to the Spurs team and, of course, to their coach Ange in terms of coming to City with a good game plan and, of course, executing that game plan to perfection. Not only did they score 4, but they failed to give up a goal. Talk to us, Christoph. What did you see from the Spurs team? What was so impressive about this performance from them?
um, again, as I've been saying for probably the last 2 seasons, possession is not as important a stat as people think. So, Man City can dominate all the possession they want. The stat that matters is scoring goals. Spurs took the chances presented to them and took them excellently at that. But Spurs defended much better than they have in prior weeks. Perhaps they've been watching some Arsenal videos because I saw them defending defending Man City in a manner similar to how Arsenal defends when they are playing against the other big six members. So I did see Spurs defended in banks of four, two banks of four, and if Man City cannot play through you, they are going to resort to shooting from distance. And as we saw, they had what probably 20 shots for the game, only five on target, 11 shots off target, and so on. It is that is Rodri is that clutch player who normally scores those goals from outside the area that kind of gets City back into games and kind of gives them a lifeline.
All right, De
They're
Bruyne as
missing
well.
are De Bruyne, but De Bruyne came on to not much effect, to be honest. We saw where Erling Haaland did have a number of chances that he did not capitalize on. He might consider staying humble in the future to give himself a better chance of scoring, these goals.
Indeed, indeed. Definitely finishing letting him down there. But again, uh, there to me was not any clear-cut chance. In all honesty, Spurs did not allow City any gilt-edged chances, I would say, so that's credit to the Spurs defense. And of course, a number of their key defenders are also out injured. Ramirez is out, Van der Veen is out, and it was the two backup center backs. In fact, one of their center backs is more known for his role as a left back, Davis, and it was Davis and Dragosin who kept this Man City attack at bay. So credit has to be given to this Spurs team. We know at times they are up and down. 1 minute they're beating Man City 4-0. The next minute they could possibly be losing to a Southampton 1-0. But in this game, they definitely turned up. And I must give credit to them for taking care of business versus this Man City team. So it will definitely be interesting to see what Pep has up his sleeve and if the great manager can bounce back from 5 successive defeats. It's an interesting statistics that
I
many other
mean,
coaches may have come under tremendous pressure for, Christoph. I mean, the likes of Ole Solskjaer did not have this bad a run when he was in charge of Manchester United. Talk to
I
us.
mean, to say, bounce back, they're really I mean, the only place to go is really up because if you lose again, you lose again. But he
Well,
recently just he just signed an extension with City for 2 more seasons. So I mean, I don't think City would fire him for a bad season because he's won 4 titles in a row. He's won the Champions League that they've been hunting. So I don't think they'd fire him for a bad season. I think he would more likely leave of his own accord in this instance. But to me, watching the game and seeing that the cameras showing Guardiola on the bench, to me he looked out of ideas of how to turn the game around.
wow, it's not often we hear this, Christoph. Guardiola out of ideas.
That is
This may
what it
very well
looked.
be the first time I'm hearing such an analytical criticism.
That is what it looked like to me. I could be wrong, but to me, it looked like he was completely out of ideas.
So
He
is
had
it a case where he has been burnt out, similar to Klopp then, Christoph? Is it that the pressures of winning 4 in a row, competing year in, year out for the title, on several fronts is now getting to him? Does Pep need a break? Does he need a refresher? Similar to, you could say, a Jurgen Klopp when Klopp was at Liverpool. Klopp
I'm not
decided to call it a day.
uh,
Should Pep do the same?
I'm not sure that is what has happened to Pep. I think it's a case where he has this style of playing, right? And all the teams in the league, and especially the big teams, see the style, understand the style. And then with the injuries that there is no plan B for him. Plan B would have been Rodri getting a goal, right? and clutching, not getting those clutch moments. But there is currently no plan B available to, in my opinion, available to Man City. So bringing on a sub is not going to change the game unless that player comes on and does, something fantastic, get scores a goal or get some
Individual
brilliant
piece of
assists.
brilliance, so to speak.
Right, right. That
And
is what
and
I think is the issue right now for them.
And
They
probably
have
that
no
player is not in the City setup currently. We're not seeing
current.
that from the likes of a Foden, a De Bruyne, possibly a Gundogan who usually pops up with a few goals here or there. We are really not seeing any outstanding player really stepping up. I also saw a statistic, Christoph, where Savinho, the new winger which was signed, is yet to trouble the back of the net all season. If it was some other player, we would hear major criticism. We would hear the media all over it. But Savinho is yet
Mhm.
to trouble the back of the net in the EPL. Can you believe it? The big winger from Man City.
I think it's more of definitely if it was somebody
Well,
else,
if it
but
was any
it's
other club,
also
he would be coming under tremendous criticism.
I agree, but also Savinho doesn't really have the name behind him like
Well,
when a Darwin Nunes was purchased or something like that. So that is one aspect of it, and I think he just doesn't register on anybody's radar.
well, it definitely had registered on our radar here on Beat in the Press. I'm just putting it out there. But we move, Christoph, and we move over to Ipswich Town. It was Amarin's first game in charge of Manchester United, and this one ending in a 1-1 draw. A perfect start, I would say, for Manchester United, scoring what in the second minute of play? But it was all downhill thereafter. Ipswich bouncing back through Hutchinson just before halftime, which leveled that one at 1-1. And then it was a stalemate the rest of the way. Of course, Christoph, we saw Amarin rolling out the new formation that I spoke of. And it was three at the back, Christoph. Talk to us about what you saw from Amarin and what you think he will bring to this Manchester United setup. Early days, of course, but from this first game, what are some of the signs you saw?
And honestly, if I were to take this game as what is to come, we can expect more of the same from
Well, it
Manchester
might get
United.
worse before it gets better, which would not
Maybe,
surprise me.
maybe.
However, what I
Um,
want to see personally is the style of play, the formation, and of course, eventually the results will come as personnel changeover. So far, as I had anticipated, I am seeing the tactical setup as to what he was doing over there at Sporting Lisbon. I'm seeing him bring that to United, where he's employing three at the back with two wing backs. Of course, one of the wing backs being more attacking and the other one being more defensive, almost a counterbalance to each other. So I'm seeing that currently. It's just a matter of now working in the players in the system, getting his tactics across. So things may get worse before they get better for Manchester United. But what I want to see is a progression in terms of the gameplay. What says you?
um, Honestly, I don't know. Like I said, I wasn't impressed by this first game. A lot of people probably jumped up over Rashford scored in the second minute of the game. Manchester United did not look impressed. The most impressive player for Manchester United was Andre Onana. They did not look good. Onana has looked excellent in that game and has looked excellent all season, looking like a world-class keeper somehow.
Possibly man of the match in that game. I mean,
It
I can recall three point blank saves. I believe two from the Ipswich striker, Dillap, and it was Anana who kept Manchester United in the game, in all honesty. I mean,
definitely
watching the
I
game, if you were to pick a wicket, the only winner you could see was Ipswich Town.
I agree. I feel like Ipswich created those, more clear-cut chances and potentially on a different day or maybe a better striker, it could have been a 3-1 game to them.
Definitely. I
Um,
mean, that,
I
that
don't
goal
think,
from Watford was one of the few opportunities that Manchester United carved out.
right. I mean, it, 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 it Amarin could not have asked for an easier game to start his Manchester United career and, to draw in such a manner to a team that is, bottom three is currently, obviously you say it could get worse before it gets better, but
Indeed,
this is not
indeed.
this is not the game to have not won. This was a game
Well,
that needed to be won. You needed to start your career on a win with this
yeah,
one.
well, that would have been the ideal thing in all honesty, of course, I personally thought that, with a new coach coming in, Manchester United, getting that new coach bounce again in recent time, they had it with Van Nistelrooy. They got a few wins under their belt. So I thought this would have been a carryover into that. But of course, the international break, a lot of the players were away on international duty. So possibly a new coach coming in could not get his message across in such a short period of time, with limited face-to-face interaction with the players. So that's something to definitely consider. But of course, it's going to take time. Time is the key factor, but as long as I see a progression, Christoph, in terms of the tactics, the philosophy, the culture, possibly a changeover of personnel as well. So I would say give Amarin maybe 3 transfer windows for us to see the real manifestation of his tactics, of his philosophy. So I would say give him 3 windows. So that's pretty much, I would say, a year and a half, Christoph. So it's gonna take time. The Manchester United fans have to be patient. At this point in time, they have to become like Arsenal. Trust the process, so to speak, and not get trigger happy and fire another coach and continue this cycle of coaching, get a few good results. Then there's a run of a string of bad results, and then the coach is fired. Patience is key at this point in time, and of course, redeveloping a culture at United. But of course, Christoph, United drawing to Ipswich Town comes as no surprise to anybody these days. This is the level that Manchester United have fallen to. So it's not as if this draw came as any huge surprise to anyone, in all honesty, because this is where United is. This is the level they're at.
I mean, definitely they've become a mid-table team. But probably you would say they've gone back to where they were before Sir Alex. In my opinion, the question is, will they climb out of that in the future? I mean, I agree with you that it will take time. But for me, since the departure of Sir Alex, because in all honesty, some of the times you really have to wonder how Sir Alex kind of got the results he got with some of the players he had. But since the departure of Sir Alex, I don't think it's obviously some of the coaches have not been great. Um, yeah, you might say Ten Hag, but bigger issue than the coaches, in my opinion, for United has been the recruitment, in that there's probably only been 1 or 2 good players, or players that have improved United since the departure of Sir Alex. And for me, it's probably only maybe Bruno Fernandes, to be honest, that comes to mind right now. Is the only player that they have bought. I mean, obviously, I like Garnacho. He's coming from the academy, a good player. But the recruitment, in my
Yeah,
opinion,
definitely. I
have
agree. I
been
concur.
poor.
Yeah, there's
Um,
not many standout names that come to mind when you look at Manchester United over the last 11, 12 years that, as you said, have become a linchpin in that team and have brought a level of positivity to the team where you could say, yes, this is an outstanding player and he could possibly fit into any other of the big name teams. Bruno Fernandes is really the only one that has come to mind. I mean, United have really lacked a quality 9. And of course, goals change matches, goals change games. So you could be very good defensively unless you have a potent striker up front. You're going to struggle in terms of the results. And thus far, that's one of the areas of weakness that United needs. And Amarin has to go out and do some good business. Of course, he's leaving a quality striker back there at Sporting Lisbon, Christoph. Would it be a surprise to you if you saw him he dip into the transfer market come January and go for that big striker over there in Portugal? Uh Gorkes from his
okay.
former team.
I mean, it might be the case where he might try to do that, but I think we might be seeing Gyökeres lining up in January in a different shade of red.
Talk to us about that. What Arsenal is showing some interest.
Arsenal has shown interest in signing a striker in January. There have been rumblings coming out of the Emirates at the moment. But yeah, Arsenal is in the market for a striker in January.
Mhm.
It seems like they finally wised up to the fact that you definitely need a quality player up front. Arsenal did win on the weekend against Nottingham Forest. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. This
yeah,
is a good
Nottingham
time to
Forest.
pivot to that game.
But
Yeah, 3-0
again,
winners.
Jesus started up front, but he did not look effective, in my opinion. It didn't contribute anything to that game, in my opinion. He got, a couple of chances, to be fair, but he doesn't look like he looked his first season at Arsenal. And
Definitely, especially in, I would say, the first 10 games in his first season. He was tearing up preseason, Christoph, and then
yeah, he was
brought
tearing
that
up the
form into
preseason.
the season,
Tearing
and
up
he
the
looked the
preseason.
part.
Right. He was tearing up defensive, linking up play well and scoring goals in that first 10 games. But then, he went away to the World Cup, got injured, and then, it
It's been a downhill
has
spiral, in all honesty.
never really recovered. But
Yeah, and I
I've been
mean,
saying it that a striker should have been brought in a long ago, and same thing I said last season again. Had Arsenal had a striker last season, potentially a couple of those draws or one of those losses could have been converted, and they would have lifted the title. And the same thing this season had if they had a quality finisher, a quality goal scorer up front, a couple of those draws that we've had this season could have been converted into wins. But
so with a new striker, then Christoph, speaking of Arsenal, let's for argument's sake say Arsenal does go out and get a striker. Is it a case where you would maintain the same midfield and the only change would be up front in that nine? So pretty much a Kai Havertz, a Jesus would be coming off the bench.
I would probably be bringing right. I would be bringing on probably Kai Havertz, but I think Kai Havertz is a player who you could use for a job if you need something different in a certain type of game. He kind of disrupts defenses
But he
and to
wouldn't. He would no longer be a regular starter then,
not in no, not for me. If you brought in a quality goal scorer and
right?
that goal scorer comes in, hits the ground running, he's scoring goals, then yeah, Kai Havertz would no longer be a
So
starter
he
in my
Kai
opinion.
Havertz would be the rotational striker, so to speak.
Right.
Getting a sub appearance here or there, or when you're giving your big number nine a rest, he would be the one who comes in.
Uh, Well, in
Or
a sense,
depending on a particular game, then, for example. We know Arsenal likes to go defensive against big names, teams. So
I
maybe
think
against a Man City, he comes in, drops back in deep and play almost like a hybrid false nine, as you often refers to it as.
I think it depends on how good that nine is
Yeah, but
because
you're not gonna go out and buy anyone who is not good, Christoph.
no, not
If
what
you're
I
going out to
mean.
buy a nine, you have
No,
to
no,
buy
no.
a
What
nine who
what
is better than
what
what you have there.
what I mean is it depends how good this nine is. Like if this nine can hold the
But
line,
you're the
make
one
a
who is gonna
nuisance of
buy the
him.
nine, Christoph.
No,
You're
I am not buying any nine. I'm not a football manager. I'm not buying a nine. I'm
all
saying
right.
it
The
depends on your
Arsenal,
quality of your nine.
yeah, but you're gonna do your due diligence. You're gonna do your proper recruiting, and you're gonna bring in a quality nine who is better than the lot you have available currently. He's gonna
Currently,
go
fine.
into your starting 11 at the expense of a Kai Havertz or a Jesus, who is currently occupying that role. So I'm saying if you bring him in, then it obviously therefore means that a Kai Havertz might have to resort to a place on the bench and then he comes in as an alternative relief striker. Or possibly he could play that role that Odegaard now plays and be like a second option in that you could say attacking midfield role.
So if Arsenal bring in that nine, so that you're bringing a new nine, a Gyökeres, he's now your starting centre forward. I think Havertz will have three roles that he will fill in the team. He will play as a that backup centre forward. Like you said, he could potentially play in that Odegaard role, but at the moment I think Arteta is probably going to give that backup role to Wanyeri at the moment. Not sure as yet. But also, when Havertz was first bought, he was going to be that left-sided center midfield player, and I could see that also coming as a role for him, and we would see him making some deep runs into the box. So you would end up having probably two targets to aim for in the box. two strikers in certain games. You would have two strikers, so he'd be pushing up very high in that game.
Ah, indeed, indeed. These are all possibilities, all if, so to speak. It's hard to say if these things will be fulfilled, knowing the stubbornness of Arsenal and the tight grip they have on the Spurs strings. Of course, their sporting director has been relieved of his duties. Edu, Christoph. So we might see a different sporting director who may possibly go for a different profile type of player. That's yet to be seen. We'll definitely have to keep a close eye on that and see how things play out. But some other interesting results over the period, Christoph, over the weekend. Liverpool coming from behind to win versus Southampton 3-2. Not surprising the result, but definitely an eye-opener in terms of the manner of that game. Salah coming up with a brace, pressure penalty there in that one, and Liverpool getting all 3 points to maintain their lead at the top of the table. But to me, Christoph, the big surprise actually didn't come on the weekend, but actually came later this evening. We're recording this evening. This one was Newcastle versus West Ham. West Ham playing away from home, running away 2-0 winners. Did you get a chance to see that one, Christopher? Or at least saw the highlights?
I did see the highlights from that one. It's a bit shocking. I think I did give West Ham a chance to get the points from that game, if I recall. I said Newcastle was overperforming and West Ham
Well,
was definitely
that
underperforming.
one definitely shocked me. I was thinking this would be an easy Newcastle win, and Lopetegui would be packing his bags. But
No, I
it
didn't see
seems as
that.
if this game has staved him off. And he should be back in the dugout versus Arsenal, I believe, is the next game that West Ham has, if
Correct.
memory
They'll
serves
be
me
playing
correctly.
on Saturday at 12:30.
So this is a big London derby, then, Christoph.
Yeah, you could.
I
It's a
mean, I mean, I recall
it's a London
Arsenal
derby, but I don't know
drawing.
if it's a big London derby.
Well,
But
I think West Ham was one of those teams which put a nail in that Arsenal coffin when they went on that run. I believe they had drawn against Liverpool and then went to West Ham. Saka missing a penalty, I believe, in that game, if you recall, and being held to a draw as well.
what 2 seasons ago you're referring
Two
to the
seasons,
two
that's
seasons?
right.
Okay.
Oh,
No. Yeah, I
so
remember.
indeed, indeed. So that should be an interesting game
If,
coming up
if
on the
if I
weekend.
recall, that was one of those games where I said Saka should not have been started. To be
Well,
honest,
time is the
Saka
master. I
Saka
mean,
had
we
been
would not have
looking,
been having this
out of form
conversation if Saka had buried that penalty.
potentially. Who knows?
That is it. That is it. But definitely a shock result for me, as I said, especially with Newcastle playing at home. Newcastle uh can't seem to find the back of the net consistently, Christoph. They are one of the league's worst scorers. I believe they have only recorded 10 goals all season, and that's definitely a cause for concern. To me, they have the firepower, but I think they don't create enough chances. They don't create enough
I
scoring
mean,
opportunities.
they
And I
have
think
they
that
have
that is
they,
hurting them right now.
they have 13 goals, I believe.
Oh,
13 goals,
13.
but they've also conceded 13, so they have a zero goal difference at the moment. I mean, it's that's the same as Manchester United, 13 goals, scored, 13 conceded. So, you would have to lump them in the mid-table with them. So, uh,
For sure, for sure. Just not enough chances, in my opinion, being created. And of course, Isaac did get a few chances in this game. He is their leading striker. Again, a potentially dubious no penalty call as well versus Callum Wilson, who seemed to be recovering from injury. So that's a positive sign for Newcastle. Hopefully, he can find his scoring boots. But at the moment, just not enough clear-cut chances being created,
I
and they're
mean,
definitely struggling to find the back of the net.
there seem to be some very dubious refereeing decisions over the weekend.
Definitely. I mean, there was one in that Liverpool game as well.
Definitely,
I'm not
definitely
sure
there.
if the refs got it right or they got it wrong.
Oh,
It's
that's it.
50-50. I'm not sure.
Uh,
What's your take on that game?
I
That
don't know if it
penalty
was.
call.
I don't know if it was 50-50, real time watching it looked like a penalty. Watching the replay, no penalty. So I
So
I, I
you're
don't know.
saying uh the offensive player was tackled outside the
It
box.
was tackled outside of the box, in my opinion.
It's interesting. I'm not sure what the rules are because
Contact
it would
contact was made
appear,
outside of the
right,
box.
contact made outside the box, but it seemed as if the heel of Roberts was on the line. So
I don't think that
I'm
counts.
not sure what the laws say, to be honest. That's something we're going to have to investigate. But
But
it was the
but that
referee's call, and they said
that that
penalty.
I mean, that seems strange because you would think the referee would go over and review it, but yeah, I saw him listen to the fourth official, I guess, and the fourth official or the VAR, and they probably confirmed, hey, penalty. It did not look like a penalty to me. Um, I don't. The player was outside the box. I don't think it matter if the person who is tackling is inside the box. The
Yeah,
player
I'm
who
gonna
was
have to check the
tackled,
rules on that, to be honest. I'm
the
not sure 100% sure on the rules. That
the
that's the question. Because technically, Christoph, let's take let's say for example the goalkeeper collects the ball. The goalkeeper could be inside the box, but he collects the ball outside of the box. So his hands are stretched out of the box. That's a red card offense.
no, that's not a red card offense.
Yes,
No,
you cannot collect the ball outside the box.
no,
The
the
ball,
goal,
the
the
ball
goal.
is the
No, the
ball is the key
what?
position.
I don't that must be a rule change because I am
No,
a
it's not
hundred
a rule,
percent
but it
certain.
seems like a goal score. Let's say for example the goalkeeper is on the field, but he stretches his hand with the ball over the goal line. That's a goal.
No, no, yeah, yeah. If he stretches his hand,
Right. So it's the same thing if
right,
he's collecting a ball and he
yeah,
stretches his
is
hand outside
not
of the
quite the same.
box.
All right, not quite the same because
Yes,
if
man.
the
It's a
goalkeeper, hold on, hold on, hold
it's
on,
the
hold on, hold
same
on, hold on.
principle.
The goalkeeper can stand behind the goal line and catch the ball outside, and it's not a goal. He catches the ball outside of the goal
Right.
line. It's not a
Yes,
goal.
exactly. Right.
Right. So the
So
same
the
thing
reverse is
applies
true
that
as
he
well.
is no, it applies that if he stands in the box and catches the ball outside of the box, it is not it's clean.
Red card offense.
No,
Yeah,
no,
man.
no.
Red card
What?
offense. He's handling the ball outside.
No, we have to look that up. We have to look that up.
Yeah, check
Yeah,
that up for
we
the
have to go
next
look that up.
podcast and let us know. Definitely check that up. So I think that's probably the rule by which the refs are going at. But any final thoughts, Christoph? We are quickly running out of time. Any final thoughts as it relates to what we saw over the weekend?
Good weekend of football in my opinion. Very good upset on the part of Spurs. They should take it's probably Andrew Postecoglou's biggest win as Tottenham manager. He used that momentum to kind of kickstart Spurs' season. Liverpool, continue to get the win. They looked I don't know if I would say they looked shaky in the game, but they
Yeah,
did
probably a little
concede two.
jaded.
They did concede two, had to come from behind, granted, dubious penalty, in my opinion. Not sure, like we said, don't know if it's a penalty or not, but it's the type of match where they go into the weekend and they a must-win game if they want to say they are the title contenders for the season. And they do need to capitalize on the fact that City is fragile, in my opinion. But again, there have been, questionable refereeing decisions again this week in the Premier League. Um, that Liverpool game, even in the Arsenal game, Arsenal did win, but I saw a lot of soft yellow cards being handed out, so to speak. Cards that players wouldn't have gotten probably last season. But the
Indeed.
refereeing this season is affecting the results of games too much, in my opinion, so far.
Well, there you have it, viewers and subscribers, the thoughts of Christoph. Again, I'd just like to thank you for tuning in to us here on Beating the Press podcast. Of course, your support has been tremendous over the period. And of course, just asking you to continue to share, like, and of course, if you haven't subscribed as yet, hit that subscription bell. We'll be here to bring you some preview action for the next upcoming game week on Thursday. So continue to join us here. But until next time, this is Rafa signing off.